All right, today we're tackling one of the biggest questions out there. What actually makes you, well, you? We tend to think of our personality as this fixed thing we're just born with. But what if I told you that most of what you consider your core self was actually built, piece by piece, by the world around you?
So let's just put it out there. Were you really born this way? The person who's shy, the life of the party, the super organized planner? Were those roles just handed to you by your DNA at birth? Get ready, because we're about to challenge that whole idea.
Okay, let's get into it. It's the classic, age-old debate, right? Nature versus nurture. Are we hardwired from the start by our genes, or are we more like a blank slate that life writes on? Well, the evidence we're looking at today suggests that the scale is tipped way more to one side than most people think.
And that gets us to the core idea for today. Your personality. It's far less about what you inherited from your parents' genes, and so much more about the unique, winding journey your life has taken you on so far.
Think of it like this, okay? Your genetics, that's like the biological scaffold for a building. It gives you a basic structure, some general tendencies. But your environment? Oh, that's the architect. That's what actually designs the building. It's the people, the places, the pressures in your life. They take that basic blueprint and build the completely unique structure that is you. So, let's get specific. First up, we're going to look at how your environment shapes your inner world. I'm talking about the very way you feel things and react to other people. We're going to break this down into 3 key areas: how you manage your emotions, how confident you feel walking into a room, and your go-to method for dealing with stress. Think about how you handle a really bad day or a big disappointment. That's not something you're just born with. It's a learned skill. We now know that when kids have consistent, responsive caregivers, it literally wires their brains for emotional stability. On the flip side, an unpredictable or chaotic environment can tune that same brain for anxiety. Your emotional thermostat was basically calibrated by your earliest experiences. And what about being an introvert or an extrovert? That social confidence isn't some fixed trait. Nope, it's the sum total of a lifetime of social feedback. Every single time you got praise, every time someone made fun of you, every party you were invited to or left out of, it all added up. These moments either built up or chipped away at your belief in your own social skills, shaping whether you lean into a crowd or pull back. Okay, your coping style. That's your personal toolkit for handling whatever life throws at you. But who packed that toolkit for you? Your environment did. A stable, supportive world teaches us to face problems head-on because we learn that our efforts actually make a difference. But a chaotic or threatening world, that teaches totally different strategies, like avoiding problems or being constantly on high alert, because those are the things that help us survive. These aren't character flaws, they're learned adaptations. Now let's move on to the next piece of the puzzle. We're going to look at your outward habits, those behaviors we can actually see, the ones we so often mistake for someone's unchangeable character. Specifically, we're talking about 2 big ones: how organized and disciplined you are, that's your conscientiousness, and how curious and adventurous you are, which scientists call openness to experience. Being a super responsible, organized person isn't some inborn talent. It's a skill that gets trained into you. When your environment is predictable, when there are clear rules and rewards, it teaches your brain that planning ahead and delaying gratification are winning strategies. Over time, that consistent reinforcement just builds the habits we call conscientiousness. It's trained, it's not innate.
So, are you a naturally curious person? Well, that curiosity was either fed and nurtured or kind of squashed by your surroundings. Being exposed to different cultures, new ideas, and all sorts of people, that encourages openness. But cultures that really value conformity, or even just economic instability, where taking a risk is a bad idea, that can teach us to stick with what's familiar. Your level of openness is a direct reflection of the world you grew up in.
All right, now we're getting down to the very foundation of your personality, your core beliefs. This is the mental lens that literally colors everything you see and experience.
And we'll dig into 2 of the most fundamental parts of your identity: your personal sense of right and wrong, and your basic, gut-level outlook on life itself.
We don't have some magical built-in moral compass. We actually learn our morality. For instance, a really harsh, punitive environment tends to build a moral code that's all about fear and following the rules to avoid punishment. But a warm, responsive environment where you learn how your actions affect others, that builds a moral code based on empathy. Your sense of justice was literally taught to you.
And finally, your worldview. Are you generally an optimist or a pessimist?
Do you believe you're in control of your own destiny, or do you feel like things are kind of out of your hands? This isn't just a mood. It's a deep perspective built almost completely from your surroundings. Your financial stability, the political system you live in, the stories your culture tells, they all mix together to create your fundamental lens on life.
So, after all that, what's the big takeaway? Let's pull this all together and talk about what it means for you, right now, and for who you can become.
I really love this metaphor because it just makes so much sense. Your DNA gives you that basic scaffold, the raw potential, but it's your environment that's the architect. It's the one that designs and builds the actual person who lives in the world. It does all the real work of shaping who you become.
So here's the bottom line. Your personality isn't some static thing. It's more like a living record of your personal history. It's a psychological fossil that tells the story of the climates you've survived, the pressures you've faced, and the support you've had along the way.
Now, I know hearing all this might make you feel like your personality is, I don't know, inauthentic or not real, but that is absolutely the wrong way to look at it. This doesn't mean you're fake. It means you are incredibly, brilliantly adaptable. The person you are today is proof of your amazing ability to learn and respond to the world you were born into.
And that leaves us with one last really powerful question. If your past environment built the person you are right now, that means your present and future environments can continue to shape you. The story isn't over. So the real question isn't just who are you, it's who do you want to become?